Right, so welcome to Adobe Animate, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Let's start. So, um, the first time you open Adobe Animate, you're not gonna see any of this, okay? What you would have to do is to go to File and click New, and then you'll be prompted to select a template to start working with, okay? Ideally, for most of our projects, we'll be working with HD resolution, that is 1280 by 720, okay? And by default, your frame rate will be 30. Please change that to 24, okay? We'll be working with 24 frames per second as our standard. And then you go and hit create. And this will take you to this screen over here, okay? Your blank screen in Animate is actually called your stage. This is where your animation happens, okay? In Photoshop, that will be your canvas, for example, or your artboard in Illustrator, okay? So this is our stage. On this side, we have the classic, our toolbar with some familiar tools like your selection, polygonal lasso, brush, line, text, pen tool, some shape tools, okay? If you go down here to this three dots, if you click, you can see some of them, they are exclusive to Animate, um, like the 3D rotation or the bone tool, okay? Originally, my pen tool was not here. I had to open this box and then just click and drag it over here, okay? Uh, Down here, this is your timeline, okay? It's gonna have one layer by default whenever you create a new file. There are some other tools on this corner over here, okay? And here you have your properties tab, all right? So let's start something real simple. Let's go and get a circle, okay? Just oval tool, shortcut O. Let's change the color. I'm gonna go for yellow. I'm going to give it a little bit of a stroke just to, this is fine. Okay, so we just created a circle. Notice that as soon as we did that, we found now there's a little black dot down here on our first square that represents a keyframe. So by creating an object in an empty space, in an empty frame, it automatically generates a keyframe for us, okay? So we now have this. The thing is, as soon as we create an object, it will behave like weird if you're used to other Adobe softwares, right? Ideally, we just like drag and drop it, but then, oh no, this happens, okay? You can actually select the stroke or the fill separately and control them individually, which is pretty useful, but for things that we'll see like further on. And also, if you hover your mouse at the edge, you can just, deform your shape like so. Okay. Which is actually cool for some other forms of animation, but let's focus on the task at hand, okay? So to transform this into something that we can actually animate properly and play with without messing up like this, what we gotta do is select the entire thing, right click, and convert to symbol, okay? Shortcut F8. Let's call it a coin, okay, because it's a yellow circle. By default, yours will be a movie clip. Please change that to graphic. And your registration, always keep it at the center. By default, it's going to be in this corner. Please change to the center. And that's it. You don't have to play with like anything else. Just leave the advanced options for when you guys staircase for level 5, okay? So just make sure every time you convert something to a symbol, make sure it's a graphic and that the registration is at the center. Hit OK. Cool. Now we can see there's like a box around our coin, okay? and we can freely move it without separating the fill from the stroke. Okay, that's what we're looking for. All right, so let's position this coin on this side here. Okay, and then let's make it travel across our stage, like from here to here. There's two ways of doing this. You could do straight ahead or pose to pose. Okay, pose to pose is basically sorry, my bad. Straight ahead would be working frame by frame, one at a time in sequence. Okay, so in order to generate a new keyframe, you can either click here, okay, or you can just press dot. Oh, that doesn't work. Okay, so you can just like click here. Okay, that's not good. So let's select that. And then on your second frame, right click, insert keyframe. Okay, now that already inserted a keyframe here for us. If we move around our timeline, we can see that now we have two keyframes. The first keyframe, the circle is here. The second keyframe, we're going to move it forward a little bit. Okay, and as we do, we can see like the shadow of the previous position. Okay, so now let's just rinse and repeat. So right click, insert keyframe, move a little bit, right click, insert a keyframe, move a little bit, no, straight line, yeah. Right click, insert keyframe, move a bit, right click, insert keyframe. All right. You can also click here to insert a new keyframe, and then you just move a little bit, insert keyframe, move a little bit, insert a keyframe, move a little bit, insert until your coin travels across the stage. Okay, don't worry on getting like exact measurements. Okay, just try to like eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just for you to try and experiment with the software a little bit. Okay, I think here's fine. Here's enough. Okay. So if we just click in our time indicator over here and scroll for our timeline, we can see that now this coin is traveling from point A to point B. Cool. If I want to play an animation, space bar is not going to do anything, as it would do back in the day in Premiere. To play, you got to press enter. Yeah, here you go, the coin traveling from point A to point B in 18 frames. Okay. Now, there are some techniques and tools for animation that makes your life a lot easier. And one of them is the one thing that Shrek and Onions have in common, and that is onion skin. So this option right here will turn on your onion skin. So that way you'll be able to see where the previous positions by frame of the object that you're animating. Okay, so let's move our time indicator back a little bit. There you go. So this is our central frame, roughly. Okay, 9 would be, have 18 frames, so 9 is our mid frame. Okay, so of course the yellow one represents the current frame. The green ones represent the future. The blue ones represent the past. As you can see down here, there's a green line in the front of your selected frame and a blue one in the back of a selected frame. You can also click and drag to extend the range. Okay. Of your onion skin, and just travel through to see how it goes. Okay. You can actually change the colors of the future and past frames as well. You just right click and go to advanced settings and then change the colors. Okay, and you can change the opacity as well. This new onion skin settings for Animate 2020 are pretty cool. Okay, so now onion skin, cool. You can click to turn it off, and now if you click here, you can loop your animation. Okay, so. And also when you click loop, you can see a range of loop pops up down here. make sure you extend that to cover your entire animation, all your keyframes. And once you do, you can hit play over here or just press enter. When you do that, you see your animation playing non-stop, looping until you get sick of it and go crazy by watching this replay like thousands of times before you. Okay, but it's actually really good when you're doing like more complex movements, especially when you're working with character and you're trying to deeply analyze movements or facial expressions. Okay, this is gonna be like really, really handy further on. Okay, another thing you could do as well, there's a play button on the top here. So this is a test for your movie, because when you just play your timeline, it can look a little bit choppy, okay? But when you click play here, you can see how it would truly play. And mine's playing like bad because, well, it's frame by frame. I didn't measure properly all of the distances and all that. Would be way easier to let Premiere do that. So let's see if we can arrange that. Okay, we tried a straight ahead type of animation when that we do frame by frame. Okay, we create a new frame, do the movement, create a new frame, do the movement. Okay, let's try and explore another technique called pose to pose. So I'm going to select those frames. Okay, if you want to erase frames, okay, what you have to do is right click and then remove frames. Okay, there you go. If you just press delete, they're gonna turn into blank keyframes. All right. So this is point A, and I want 2 seconds, another keyframe. Okay, so just insert a new keyframe, and at 2 seconds, I want my coin to be over here at point B. So now this is position A. This is position B at 2 seconds. In between those two frames, nothing happens, okay? You can see down here in the timeline is now a big strip of gray with only like a black dot in the beginning. And then it cuts to a simple frame size block with one black dot. It basically jumps from point A to point B. But I want Animate to generate my in-between frames, okay? The frames between position A and position B. To do that, we need to create a tweening. Okay, tweening comes from in between, which refers to in between frames. Now, let's go in between the two keyframes, of course, and right click, create classic tween, the first option right at the top. When you do that, it is going to generate a purple arrow, okay, that comes from point A to point B. And this is enough already. This is already generating all the frames from point A to point B, all the in-between frames. It's really slow because it's taking 2 seconds to travel. If we turn on our onion skin, we can see that all the frames are equidistant, which means the distance between each frame is constant. Okay, that means our animation is being played at a constant speed. There is no variation in speed. There is no acceleration, no deceleration. Okay, and that can feel very unnatural. Okay, there is a principle of animation called timing that dictates how the movement of animated things can be more realistic by applying timing. Okay, so for example, you can see that all of these frames, they have the same distance in between each other, right? What if we put some frames further apart? Okay, this will make our animation become faster. If they get closer together, they'll become slower. All right. One way of doing that is by editing your tween. Okay, so just click anywhere in your tween. All right. I would do like in the middle so you can have full view of what's gonna happen with the onion skin frames. Okay. Click in your tween and then you see some twinning settings on this side of the screen. Okay. So over here, let's go to Effect, where you see Classic Ease. Let's click in here and select a new graph. Okay. So if we go to Easy In and Easy Out, okay, this is going to make our coin accelerate, move, and decelerate and stop. Okay. So the curves, the way they are shaped here, this is how our speed is controlled, let's say. Okay. So let's click here in our tween. Let's go to Effect Classic Ease. Then the graph should open up. You go to Easy In and Out. And let's do a cubic. All right. So now you can see that in the very center, the frames are further apart. And at the corners, they are closer together. So let's watch. Wow. There you go. So it's slow, fast, slow. That's what slow in, slow out means. It goes slowly into the action and then slowly out of the action. Okay. There you go. Wow. All right. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, and that is it for this tutorial. We'll come up next with another one for other principles of animation. Yes. How to stop recording again? Here.